Hey everybody. We're here unfortunately because of the sad news of the passing of Ozzy Osbourne at the age of 76. We all knew that Ozzy was sick. This doesn't come as any less of a shock. We're kind of speechless at the moment, but we felt like we should come on, say something. So, Darren,
Yeah, I thought it might be kind of therapeutic and for us to do this, and hopefully other people watching the video will comment and we'll get each other through this. We didn't know Ozzy personally. I think when you connect with an artist and his music, the way that John and I have, and the way everybody watching this has, you feel like they're a close relative, and that's how I feel with this. It's a loss that I knew was coming. I didn't know that it would be this soon, but years ago, I would think about it, knowing what a huge impact it would eventually make in my life. And even before Ozzy was sick, I thought, wow, you look at some of our heroes and you think about when they pass away and how it's going to be difficult. But I always had in the back of my mind, oh, but man, when Ozzy goes, boy, whoa, that's going to be tough. And here we are, and it is tough. I'm glad that he was able to do the back to the beginning. I'm glad he was able to join Bill, Tony, and Geezer one last time. I don't think any of us had any idea how significant that would be. Now we do,
yeah,
and it's going to have even more significance moving forward. Looking at the clips and seeing Ozzy singing "Mama, I'm Coming Home" and any of the songs in his set, and even the Sabbath songs is going to have a lot more impact now. Um, I really hope that Ozzy, and I was looking forward to there being another solo album because I love Patient Number Nine, and
yeah,
I still listen to it on the regular. I think it's a great album. I was really pleasantly surprised that it was as good as it is, and I've said before, and I'll say it again, that it's probably my third favorite Ozzy solo record. And Ozzy said recently that he's not able to perform or tour, but he could still sing, and he's not going to stop until he just absolutely can't do it anymore. But recently he said that he had every intention of still singing, and I had hoped that there would be another studio album, but what we have is what we have, and we have a lot of great music. And I look back. I mean, I'm 56, and I became a fan of Black Sabbath around 1980 or 81, and Black Sabbath's music and Ozzy was with me my entire life. So you can imagine. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people probably shared the same experience. We're all in the same boat, and it's not easy. Um, but it was inevitable, and we could see his health deteriorating. And I think John and I even said one of the last times we were talking about probably the back to the beginning. I had said that I think Ozzy's not long for this world, and I think a lot of people close to his family know that better than anyone, and I'm sure they did. And so here we are, unfortunately.
yeah,
Like I started to say, just this is more impact for me, and I'm sure for you, John, and a lot of other people. I'm just getting it out that even when I was a kid, teenager, um Black Sabbath music and Ozzy's voice was a friend. And so I feel as though I've lost a close friend. And that's pretty much where I am.
Yeah, this is tough because the Back to the Beginning was such a successful thing. We said, and multiple times after the Back to the Beginning, that we were so glad that it happened because often when people are doing a tribute to somebody, it's after the person has passed away. And I'd much rather give a tribute to somebody when they're still there. And the whole day was really such a great celebration of Black Sabbath and Ozzy and his legacy and the band's legacy. And like you said, we all knew that Ozzy was sick. We knew that the day was going to be here sooner rather than later. But I think coming off of the high from Back to the Beginning, this still comes as a shock. So close to that, you know. Also, what makes it difficult, like you said, I always say Back in Black was the album that got me into hard rock and heavy metal, but Blizzard of Oz is probably the most important record to me. And yeah, he's been with us for a long time, since we were 10, 11 years old. And I remember I think it was on one of our Into the Void podcasts, you were talking about how you'd come home from school and just couldn't wait to come down, put the headphones on and listen to Blizzard of Oz. And I was kind of the same way. I had my cassette Walkman and, just couldn't listen to that enough. And yeah, so it's
It is. It's
tough. It's tough because he is somebody and he's, he's one of these guys you knew the day was going to come. Obviously, none of us are immortal. But there are some people that you just kind of think maybe he will live. You know, you don't want to accept the reality of a heavy metal world, a world of heavy metal without Ozzy. And yeah, so he's the godfather of heavy metal. Black Sabbath invented heavy metal, and it's really, his passing is. Really the end of a generation. And I'm glad that Back to the Beginning happened, and I'm glad that the four guys, original Black Sabbath members, were able to get together like this. We were speculating afterwards, well, maybe they'll record some things and stuff like that, and obviously that's not going to happen now. But I'm grateful for what we have, the legacy that we have, and the thing for me always with Ozzy. I always said this, that Ozzy was kind of like the Rocky Balboa of the heavy metal world. He was this guy that a real, to quote the song, the song is called Ordinary Man. Ozzy is far from an ordinary man, but he was a man. He was this guy that he had this gift of his voice, but he had human struggles just like the rest of us. So I think it was really easy to relate to Ozzy. He always struck you as the type of guy that, everybody's standing around him at the bar listening to him tell a story. He's a great personality. He just comes across as this street level, even though he's the most popular heavy metal singer of all time. He was always very humble. He was always very down to earth. So that sort of hits too, that He's this guy that sort of embodies the heavy metal hard rock spirit. This just guy that just goes out there and gives it his all. And yeah, he had his struggles with addiction. Yeah, there were times where maybe he struggled on stage and everything, with his voice or something like that. But he was just always there. Ozzy never really disappeared. He was always there, like you said, as part of our lives. And I think that's what hits so hard. That, like you said, he's somebody that's just been here with us for so long, and it's such an important. We didn't know him personally, but again, he's just such an influential person. And I know, Darin, I know you feel the same way, how important Blizzard of Oz is to your development as a metal fan and musician and all that. So it's shocking, it just, I think it happened the same way for both of us. Our phones just started blowing up, and it was almost like, again, I mean, Back to the Beginning was just what, 2 weekends ago, and it seemed like it was
Yeah.
on such a high and everything from that, and to just have this come out like this, it's just, yeah, it hits hard. It hits hard.
Yeah, I just didn't see it coming. I really thought that he was compromised physically. I didn't think that it was fatal, but obviously it was, and those closest to him were aware of it. Thoughts go out to his family, his close friends. Um, it's got to be devastating. I'm sure it is, even if they've had time to prepare for it. I mean, Ozzy was just such a. I mean, even to us. I mean, here we are. We're just two nobodies that just listened to his music, and it became the soundtrack to our lives. We're just two nobodies, but here, the people that worked with Ozzy, his family. I mean, you can imagine how endearing he was to them and how hard it is for them. So my heart goes out to them. And it's like anything else. Like whenever this sort of thing happens, we're always sad because we've lost someone, and there's not going to be anything more to add to the music that we love. There's not going to be another Patient Number Nine. There's not going to be that Black Sabbath album that we had talked about, but we have such a large he left such a large legacy in music. His voice, um, of course, all the Black Sabbath albums with Ozzy, the 8 albums and the live stuff and and all of Ozzy's solo stuff. I mean, it's definitely enough music to carry us out for the rest of our lives, and it will. And that's the good thing. I mean, there's so much that he left behind for us as fans that it's immortal. He's not going to be he's not in the physical realm anymore, but he's still here, and he always will be. We always listen to the music, same effect. If we have a day where we're frustrated or something's got us down, we know that we still have those songs, and he's still there in spirit. He always will be, and I think that's the main takeaway that this is Ozzy. I mean, you're right. He was a very fallible, Rocky Balboa kind of guy that everybody could relate to.
And
He was
cheered
he was a
for,
rock star. He was a rock star, but it was something that we could. He was human. He wasn't like this larger than life character rock god. Even though he tried to be sometimes, he'd still, in the midst of doing that, he'd fall down or something would happen, and it was like, oh, that's Ozzy, and it was really endearing because it was something that we could relate to. It wasn't something that seemed from a fantasy world. We could latch on to Ozzy. We could see sometimes we could see ourselves in Ozzy, and that was one of the things that made him so endearing. Uh, and so we'll always have his voice. It'll always be there. It's never going to go away. It's always going to be there. You can always
Yeah.
reach for a record, tape, CD, YouTube, crank out a VHS video or Ultimate Sin
Mhm.
Live or something, put them in, and take you right back to that time. I could watch live Speak of the Devil live from 1982, and it'll take me back to when I was, you know, 13 years old, 12, 13 years old, and my very first concert. And so that's never going to go away. It's sad to know that we don't occupy the same planet as Ozzy anymore. It was always like, even when I was a kid, it's funny because not to get in like some kind of a hero worship, but when you're a kid, you think about all kinds of crazy things. And I remember when I was like probably 12 or 13 or something, listening to Ozzy's music, sitting there on the bed, looking at the album cover, thinking, I wonder what Ozzy's doing right now.
Yeah.
You know, as crazy as that is, I wonder what Ozzy's doing right now. Uh, is he singing? Is he eating dinner? What's he doing? Knowing that somewhere in another part of the world, this person was alive and doing his thing. And it was always comforting to know that Ozzy, he was there somewhere, and at some point he'd get himself together and he'd put out an album or he'd do a tour or you'd see something, and that was always really comforting. So we don't have that anymore, but it's just a part of life, and I think we all knew it was coming. And the older we got, I mean, he's 20 years older than we are, 20 years older than I am. And, I mean, nobody's getting any younger, and it's inevitable. But even still, nothing can really prepare you for the reality of that happening. Yeah, I got choked up a few times and everything, and even in this video, when trying to, get it together to talk about the impact that he had, it's not easy. But I'm still kind of stunned. It really hasn't like just I
Yeah.
haven't thought about it from every conceivable angle yet, and I will eventually. When I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the music or something like that, it'll hit me like a shockwave, like, oh, he's gone. And then you okay, and then you deal with that, and eventually, like anything else, you just becomes a becomes the current reality, and then so this is where we are. But we mentioned it quite a few times, and about that Ozzy, what's it going to be like when he's gone? And I didn't think we'd be actually in that reality so quickly
Yeah.
from the time that we were talking about it. But yeah, I mean, I had to turn the radio. I was coming home from work. I had to turn the radio off because I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
see you on the other side. No, not yet.
Yeah.
Too soon. But
Yeah, and when you look back at Ozzy's career, he's so important to heavy metal and heavy music. Obviously with Black Sabbath, the creators of heavy metal through the 70s. His solo career bringing us Randy Rhoads and Jakey Lee and Zakk Wylde and the albums and the songs. Even through the 90s with Ozfest, and he's just been a constant. He's not like one of these guys where people are, oh, whatever happened to Ozzy Osbourne, whatever happened to that guy. No, not at all. Like, he's always been active. He's kind of always been there, and yeah, it's just we're grateful for what we have, and I'm sure we can all, us personally, everybody out there, we can all remember the first time we heard his voice. It's, immediately that voice with Black Sabbath and his tone, the tone of his voice, the way it just embodied the sound of Black Sabbath, and that the thing that I know that me and you love, that sort of dark, mysterious sound. Ozzy always had that. with his voice. I remember reading Zach Wilde saying once that, Ozzy could, we would be on the bus and we would tease Ozzy and make him sing nursery rhymes or something because no matter what Ozzy or Christmas songs, no matter what Ozzy sang, it sounded like, scary, and he just has that tone to his voice. It's so unique, and it's so emotional too, I mean, I say this all the time. I'm a huge Ozzy ballad when Ozzy does a ballad because I think he has that voice to that too, where not only can he be kind of scary like Diary of a Madman and Mr. Crowley, he can also be, sad and remorseful and stuff like that. And he had a way that people will sometimes criticize Ozzy. Well, he didn't write any of his lyrics. Geezer wrote the lyrics in Black Sabbath, and Bob Daisley wrote a lot of lyrics on the early solo albums. But Ozzy was great at taking these lyrics in these songs and making them his own, and I always say to people, if you doubt what Ozzy brings to the table, listen to the Dave Walker version of Junior's Eyes and then listen to Ozzy's version. It is far, far superior to the Dave Walker version. I mean, Ozzy just takes what would have been like an okay song and turns it into an amazing song. So he was a great sort of interpreter of, and he could take lyrics like that and really make them his own. And that is a skill, and his melodies and just the tone of his voice and just his whole, the whole thing. It's just, it was really something special. And he was a real, if you go up to somebody on the street who doesn't know anything about heavy metal and you say, "Can you name any heavy metal artists?" Chances are they're going to mention Ozzy, you know, because he's just this iconic figure that everybody knows. And I mean, just again, we were all taken by surprise in this for, the algorithms on YouTube. I was watching the US Festival performance where he comes out with that witch doctor outfit on. And I never saw that if you see the full clip, he plays that Carmina Burana intro and he's walking around in that witch doctor outfit. Because usually the clip you see, it's like they just start with Over the Mountain and he's ripping the thing off. And I always thought, gosh, man, he put that whole thing on just to rip it off right away. But he was actually out on stage for a good like minute and a half during Carmina Burana, in that outfit and everything. And I was just like, and then some interviews with them popped up and everything. And I was just watching some interviews with them. And it's an extraordinary career. I mean, there's so few, God, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody else nobody else in heavy metal has had a career as long as him and had a career as impactful as his. I mean, Black Sabbath, the band that invented heavy metal, the most important heavy metal band. His solo career, highly influential. Just again, even like the Ozfest thing, that whole concept of like a touring festival like that. Whether that's him or Sharon or whatever, it's still, he's still had his name on it there. And so he's had a huge, huge impact, and he's just a really, really important, you know, person, icon for our music. So to see him pass like this, oh, it's really sad. And again, we knew he was sick, but you were kind of hoping. There was talk that he wanted to, after he did Patient Number Nine, and even after he did Ordinary Man, he was so into it that Patient Number Nine came out relatively in this day and age quick after Ordinary Man. And he was saying things about how he was enjoying recording. And so I was kind of hoping that, maybe he's retired from the touring life. Maybe we'll get some other solo material. We'll get maybe, who knows, something with Black Sabbath. But sadly, it isn't to be. But we can be grateful for the moments that we had. We can be grateful. I know a lot of people that watch the channel are around Darin and I's age. So, I'm grateful that I was discovering music at the time that this came out. I'm glad that I was able to be there. And basically, I was been with Ozzy since his solo career, and that we've been able to been here along the journey with him, and that we have the memories that we had, whether it's just personal or the collective memories that we all share of Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was just thinking, sometimes on my way to work, I listen to Sirius, Sirius XM, and there's a show that Ozzy does with Billy, I forget his last name, Billy Morrison. And it's called Ozzy Speaks. Sometimes on my way to work, I'll hear that, and sometimes I'll come in after it's already been on for a few minutes, and I'll hear a song that I don't normally hear on satellite radio. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then after the song's over, Ozzy will come back with Billy, and they'll talk, and it was obvious that that was an artist or a singer or something that they had just finished talking about, and Billy Morrison would be like, "Well, let's play some Slade now. Let's play some Slade," and that's why I was hearing you Slade at 7:30 in the morning. Uh, but it was cool because on my way to work, I'm listening to Ozzy, and it's like he's in the car with me. It sounds kind of silly, but it he just had this personality, and just you couldn't really understand most of what he said, but it was like his inflections, and you knew when the punchline was there, and it was just funny. Even if you couldn't understand it, it was just funny the way that he would talk about things, and the expression in his voice. Um, and that's one of the things about Ozzy. He wasn't just a singer in the band. He was a personality, and yeah, it's a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to wrap your head around, and a lot to process as far as moving forward. Of course, it is what it is, and I said a few times it was inevitable, but it doesn't make it any easier. So,
Yeah,
but I thought it would be good to do this because
yeah,
it's like you want to talk to somebody about it. You want to and I thought it'd be cool that you and I would talk about it. I knew we had the same uh, reaction to it, and then to share it with other people who are just as much as big of fans as we are, and get each other through it, talk it out.
yeah, yeah,
It's
for
therapeutic.
sure. For sure, yeah. So we wanted to come on here, Darin and I, we do our Black Sabbath podcast and our Sabbath Sunday, so we felt it was important that the two of us came on here and hopefully, something for everybody out there. We can all grieve together. We can all celebrate Ozzy's life together. We're going to be doing another tribute on the channel here coming up, a celebration of Ozzy, and I'm sure we'll dedicate, the next so many Sabbath Sundays to Ozzy. But we just felt it was important to come on here at this moment and just be here with everybody during this time. So, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave you with some lyrics here from Ordinary Man. I don't want to say goodbye. When I do, you'll be all right. After all, I did it all for you. Ozzy, you were never an ordinary man. Us. Rest in peace.